soft, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Right, good morning everybody. Coming to you live from the Kilauea Iki overlook. There's a little bit of a prism rainbow right here in front of us. Just ever so faint and slowly but surely disappearing. Maybe it'll come back as we are here today. So, it's a bit of a misty day up here in the volcano. It's beautiful nevertheless. We've been hanging out at the Kilauea Iki overlook for a little while now, just kind of getting a bit of an idea what is going on in the park today. Seems like the weather may be coming in a little bit here, so we're gonna keep our eye on what's happening, but we figured we'd come here and talk a little bit about Kilauea Iki, what's happened here in the past, what this area is about. Okay, first things first. This is the overlook area of Kilauea. There's Miss Jessica. That goes down to where the trail is into Kilauea Iki, which is currently closed. The trail is closed because large sections of the trail were ripped apart by massive boulders that fell down into Kilauea Iki during the summer's eruptive phase. So, first things first, right here, this hill is known as Pu'upuai. Pu'upuai was basically the fallout of the Kilauea Iki eruption. It's basically made of cinder, pumice, ash, glass particles, Pele's hair, Pele's tears, all the things that came out of the 1959 fissure eruption in Lava Lake. So, this area right here in ancient times was known as the summit of the Kilauea Shield. The 1500s eruption that everybody always talks about, there was the big event, the Pele Hi'iaka story. This was the area that eruption basically started from. They believe that there's the lava tube in Kilauea Iki here. This whole area was basically the summit of that. If you were to go up onto the Mauna Loa Strip Road, you could see that there is a shield volcano right here, and you can actually see the shape of it and actually how it lies in the topography of the land. This crater right here as well, since we're talking about Kilauea, Kilauea was known as the wood eater or the forest eater. He was the god that was supposed to have inhabited the big island of Hawaii before Madame Pele came here and claimed it. Kilauea was said to have lived in Kilauea Iki here. This was his main home for a long, long time. And then shortly before Pele came to the island, he went over to Halima'uma'u over on the other side there, and that became his home, and then he went into his eternal coma and Pele came and took over the island. So, in 1959, on November 14th, there was a series of earthquakes, and over here, on the side of this big forested hill, laterally, kind of like this, the hillside opened up as if someone was opening a big zipper. Started pouring out the side of the hill and filling the bottom into what would become a lava lake. There's a little diagram here that can kind of show you what that might have looked like. Just big fissure eruptions that came out and started flowing into the bottom. And then slowly but surely it turned into a 1,900-foot tall fountain that formed a 250 foot, something like that, deep lava lake. Right here you can see Pu'upuai, which is the hill over there in the background, and all of the fallout moving this way with the wind basically created that hill. The lava lake stayed there. I believe the event lasted about 5 weeks. It had, let's see what it says right here, 17 episodes of fissuring, and created this area right here. The floor stayed hot for a long time after that. They would do drilling samples and basically try to go deep and see how hot it was underground, and the massive amount of rain that came into this area over time cooled it down in, I believe only like 20 or 30 years. There's always been a significant amount of steam that comes out of the floor of Kilauea Iki because it is said to be hot underground. But standing here and looking down myself, especially at like these little islands right here, traditionally in the past, those would steam really hard, especially when it was wet. And I'm not seeing any steam come out of those. So who knows if whatever happened this summer changed some of the structure where the heat's coming out of the ground. That being said, Kilauea Iki is a very beautiful area, and hopefully the trails can be fixed over time and the Park Service can do what they can do to get it open, because it is absolutely gorgeous. It's a wonderful exploration. Excellent little hiking trail. Again, we're starting to get that little rainbow just right there in front of us, kind of right next to this little tree. As the sun comes out, it gives you some pretty cool views up here in the park. This is also kind of, as I was saying before, the summit of the Kilauea eruption. And so we can go through that really quick, like in layman's terms. They say that a long time ago that Madame Pele was in love with a chief that she had met in the island of Kauai, and his name was Lohiau. A lot of people, there's different versions of the story, and so depending on who you're talking to or who likes what version, it's said a bunch of different ways. One way is that when Pele first came to the islands, she first visited him on Kauai. Another way is when Pele was here, she went into some sort of kind of trance-like state, and her spirit went and inhabited a hula dancer or something like that, and she went to Kauai and met the man. But either way, Pele was in love with a chief from Kauai, and she sent her little sister Hi'iaka to go retrieve him. And she gave Hi'iaka like the powers of gods so that she could make the journey safely. And she gave her like a time limit, you know, you have to get this all done in 40 days or something like that. So Hi'iaka went on the journey, and she got the chief and she brought him back. And ultimately, long story short, without going through all the details of the journey, which was a perilous journey, Hi'iaka brought the chief back, and when she was coming through the island of Maui, she noticed that all of her forests, which she was the patron of in Ola'a on the big island of Hawaii, were on fire because she had passed the time limit, and Pele was mad and she had scorned her. And then when she returned, she came to the summit here, and legend says that she made love to this chief in front of Pele to kind of get back at her. And that's when Pele killed the chief, threw him into the pit at Halima'uma'u, and said that Hi'iaka was to have dug deep into the earth trying to get to the water table so that Namaka could kill Pele. And the other gods kind of intervened and the whole thing stopped. But that, scientifically, the giant subsidence of the 1500s, that was more or less Cliff Note version of the story. And this is where it all kind of was said to have been originated from, is the Kilauea, or the Kilauea Iki summit. Anyways, if you'd like to hear a more detailed version of that story, you can go online and look up the legend of Pele and Hi'iaka, and you can see the several different ways that the Hawaiians have kept it in their oral tradition over the years. There are versions from travelers also, like Ellis and others who came here. I believe the stories were probably told to them, and they did their best to tell them to the world, but you guys know how stories go. Alright, it looks like it's going to be a rainy day up here in the park. Take you guys on a little journey real quick, let you see a little bit more of the vantage of Kilauea Iki. This is a beautiful forested area with a pit crater at the bottom and the lava lake that was there in '59, not anymore. You can walk across the floor now. The trail is currently closed, but hopefully sometime in the near future they'll get it opened back up. This is one of the only craters in the park that you can actually take a walk through, and it is simply fantastic to be in the forest. you have some of the endemic and beautiful foliage. These right here. This is the Hapu'u Pulu tree. Pulu is this material right here that you can see that kind of looks like some kind of spongy moss or something like that. A long time ago, it was used as like pillow and bed fibers and stuff like that. They actually had factories of it where they had lots of these trees growing, and they would harvest it and export it as trade. Right here, this is the forest wetland version of the ohelo berry. I can't really remember the name. I think it's something like ohelo kahalau, or something like that. But you can see that they are beautiful little red berries. They actually are more tasty than the regular ohelo berry. These are very, very seasonal in the park and hard to find, but it's cool when they're here. Some of our invasive ginger, and here we go. We're at the trailhead for Kilauea Iki. You guys can see the area is closed, do not enter. I have seen pictures that the park put out, and the bottom line is large pieces of the trail were taken out by big boulders. And so the trail is completely unstable and very dangerous, and until they get it fixed, you really don't want to go down there. You guys can see lichen growing in the tree right here. Lichen is basically a growth that happens in these areas. A lot of times it's associated with rocks or other volcanic materials, but it takes it a long, long time to grow. A lot of the lichen that's over by Kilauea Iki is 50 to 75 years old, and it's kind of small, so very interesting. Growing in the trees here. Lots of really beautiful ohia trees along the path right here. You can see a lot of them are trying to go into bloom. You can hear plenty of the apapane in the area, which is one of the native honey creepers that would actually go into these flowers. You can see that there's kind of little pods. What happens is, this one's not really open yet. Maybe I can find this. Those little bracts open up and they're filled with a little nectar. And honeybees and the Hawaiian honey creepers, which are the birds and stuff like that, they all use it as a source of nectar. Got little native orchids or lilies or whatever these guys are. Cute. We got the invasive eluhe or the false staghorn fern. Ugh. Everybody from Hawaii knows that one. It's the bane of our existence. No, I'm kidding. This is it when it's very first starting to open up. Kind of looks like a little alien. And I'm sure that many of you have seen some pictures taken from this overlook. The lava lake was there. You can get these really cool shots where it was misty and cloud covered in the crater, and then beautiful plume coming out right over here where the steam comes out now. Either way, hope everybody out there is having a beautiful Tuesday. It is pretty darn beautiful in the park. It's very, very light, misty rain. The Hawaiians had a word for that. They had a word for several kinds of rain to describe the different environments in the park. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day out there. Coming to you live from Kilauea Iki. Aloha, everybody, and a hui ho.